7 acquisition secrets to explode your real estate wholesaling business. What's up guys, Zach Ginn here, and in today's video, I'm gonna give you my top secrets you need to know in your real estate wholesaling business so you can become an expert in acquisitions. And my biggest tips and secrets that, trust me, you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a special boot camp in real estate wholesaling to go learn that I'm gonna give to you absolutely for free today. So before we get into it, do me a favor and smash that like button and subscribe, and let's talk about it. So really when it comes to acquisitions, there's a certain amount of principles, rules, and a little bit of a roadmap that I've used in my business to make me as successful as possible. That's made me millions and millions and millions of dollars. And relatively to my competition in my real estate wholesaling market, probably an extra $10,000 to $15,000 every single assignment deal that I've done, not including flips and stuff like that, which I get more profit per deal than them because I know exactly how to deal with the seller the right way to squeeze the most money out of every single real estate deal. And that's really what I want to break down and show you today. So let's kind of break down number one. This is something that absolutely no YouTube channel really talks about outside of me, Flip with Rick, and stuff like that, which is our network of channels. It's conditioning the seller. Not a lot of people talk about conditioning the seller, and it is absolutely crucial for success in your real estate wholesaling business to actually go out here and condition your sellers. Most wholesalers don't condition their sellers and they don't become successful for it. And if you're asking me like, Zach, what's conditioning a seller? This sounds crazy. Like, what are you saying? Like, well, what language are you speaking? And this might bring you back to when you started in real estate wholesaling and there's like all these crazy terms, ARV comps and stuff like that. But conditioning the seller is actually a pretty simple term. This is a big sales process that I've kind of copied from big sales companies in the past, reading books and education and content that I've found for free outside of real estate wholesaling that I've kind of used in here, and some other wholesalers do use it, the ones that are doing really well. So conditioning your seller is basically asking your seller to make a yes or no decision on selling the property before you actually go out here and close the deal. So what I mean by this, so basically in my real estate wholesaling business, none of our acquisitions team members will actually go in the appointment and actually meet with a seller unless they are ready to make a yes or no decision on selling the property. So a conversation like this might go, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm actually a pretty busy person and I value your time too. I know you're a busy guy or gal. And before we go, I just want to see if you are ready to make a yes or no decision, if I can get an answer from that on selling the property before I go there. I just hate to go there, waste our times and, waste our time. What would that do for you? Like, is that something you think you can do? And you kind of have that conversation there. Now, it's never really like that. There's other ways to do it. Hey, Mr. Seller, before I go meet you at the property, can you make a yes or no decision on selling the property? And then you literally pause, go blank, and see if they say yes. So if they say yes, I can make a decision on selling, yes or no, before you come over here, you'll do well. And if they say no, they can't make a decision when you go there, then you're not going to do well, and it's definitely not something you can do. The reason why you should always condition your seller is because the worst possible outcome in your acquisitions is the seller says maybe. Maybe is a no-go. That's most likely the worst possible scenario, because just think about it for a second. A yes decision or no decision, that's what you're asking the seller if they can make it before you go in the appointment. If they say yes, boom, yeah, you got the contract, right? That's great. But what if they say no? No big deal, they probably want too much money, and if it's not in their best interest, we don't want to deal with it, right? The problem is when it comes to the maybe, because if someone says maybe, there's really nothing else you can do, and everyone knows the saying, time kills all deals, and that's absolutely true in real estate wholesaling, and you do not want that to happen, and that's why you always just want to value your time and guard it the most. So that is why, hands down, you need to condition your sellers before you get into it. Number two here, this is a big sales secret that pretty obvious, not as obvious as number one, but it's pretty important, but this is mirroring your sellers. What do I mean by mirroring your sellers? When you mirror your seller, just kind of like a mirror, when you talk to a seller, act like they're looking in the mirror, sort of. So what is the coolest, sweetest, most beautiful name in the English language? Let me ask you that question real quick. Do you know that? Well, the answer is the most beautiful, sweetest name that triggers the most happiness when you hear it, besides the Miami Dolphins, is your name. And that is the honest truth. And that's something I've learned basically from a book of how to win friends and influence people. And that's definitely a strategy a lot of salespeople have used, and it's definitely one that's very, very powerful. So the sweetest name in the English language is the own person's name. And that's not because everyone's got a crazy ego and they think so crazy about themselves, but usually when someone says, hey, your name. So like when someone says, hey, Zach, that gets your attention more than anything. Like, hey, man, or hey, Zach, that'll get your attention a lot more. And it's just scientifically the way it happens. So if you're talking to a seller, you want to mirror their personalities to a pretty good amount, and you want to say their name. Saying their name has very positive connotations in their mind, like, hey, I like this guy, I like this gal, right? And if you can mirror their personalities to an extent, you're going to do well. Now, don't copy their personality perfect and like it looks bad and fake. But if someone's a little more calm and chill, just be a little more calm and chill. The more happy and excited, be a little more happy and excited. Pretty easy to learn how to mirror personalities, ask the right questions. Now, number 3 here, this is like stuff, I gotta go in my little suit jacket and go on a stage and teach, but this is probably one of the most powerful closing techniques that I've used in my real estate wholesaling business, and definitely one you should be using in your real estate investing and wholesaling and flipping and whenever you're talking to a seller. And this is the good cop, bad cop technique. The good cop, bad cop technique is definitely one I've used, especially when I was going on appointments, and still the ones I tell a lot of my acquisition people to do, because it justifies a lowball offer. So there's definitely a lot of closing techniques you can have in wholesaling real estate, and a lot of them are pretty good. Some of them aren't too good, but what I can tell you right now is when you're talking to a seller and you want to go lowball them, think of the strategies that happen when you lowball a seller. Hey, Mr. Seller, I can give you around $40,000 for the house. And they're like, I wanted 100. Get out of my house. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, lowballing a seller is it's a bold move. And a lot of the times the percentage of you getting the deal is pretty bad. Sellers get upset, never good. Wouldn't it be cool to have a strategy out here to figure out if the seller is good with you lowballing them or not? Like, is that, before you actually like talk to them, wouldn't it be cool to figure out what price they're at? Like kind of do a mind reading technique there. Now, obviously we can't read minds, but what's the second best thing to reading a mind? It's pretty much seeing what they're at with doing a trial close. And that's kind of what the process of the good cop, bad cop is. And the good cop, bad cop approach is basically having a bad cop, basically, it's kind of a negotiation technique that the police use. So that's why everyone knows the saying, but you're basically having your partner as the bad person and yours the good person. You don't want to be the bad person talking to the seller, right? You want to be the good person. You're on my side, you know, and then the other person's the tough, rough and tough numbers person who's just like money, 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 and you're just the guy just trying to help, right? That always is the best technique out here for closing sellers. So one thing I always loved doing, basically when Rick was on the appointment, which was mostly just me, I was saying like, so this example, I would want to lowball them at 40, they're at 100, and I try to negotiate lower. So I'd be like, you know, Mr. Seller, this looks like a really nice property. I was actually talking to Rick about it, and I was showing him some of the Google images, a little bit on the inside of it, kind of the structure of it, you know, the roof, the age and everything. And, you know, he was talking to me, and he was looking at me, and he basically said, we need to be around $40,000 on this. And then don't say a word. Don't say a thing after he said, like, he was around 40,000 on this. Guess what happens? When he says there's about 40,000, when you say there's about 40,000 on this, they're either gonna say a couple of things. Number one, this is kind of the craziest one, but like, they're gonna say, 40,000? No way, I'm definitely not doing this. No way, Jose, I can't do this. No, 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 no. Get out of my house, don't lowball me, get out of here, blah, 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 right? And that is what you would imagine if you just said, I'm buying your house for 40,000, or I wanna buy it for 40. Here's the cool part. That was a trial close. That was a test close. You were testing them. And this is where you come in, and guess what? Now you know, like from your little analytics here, that they don't like 40,000, right? Here's what I usually say, and this one works the best. Well, hey, I know, 40,000 is crazy. Rick is like, he always wants to buy a house for $1. He's all about the money. He's nuts, right? And like, yeah, that's crazy. So guess what? You deflect the badness of that lowball offer to the bad person who's conveniently not there. You both can build rapport on how bad that person is to a point. And I mean, you're not talking too bad about him, but it actually works really, really well. And guess what? You can say, well, he's at 40. Obviously, that's not going to work. I get it from this. I mean, what works? And he's like, you know, 100, right? like, okay, Rick's literally gonna kill me if I buy this thing for 100. That is definitely not gonna work. And then you gotta think logically, right? Because there's basically three processes of how a sales decision is made. It is basically from emotion, number one, number two, logic, and number three, fear. And that's kind of the strategy I use in my acquisitions to a point when it comes to the close. You can get closing talking about visualize, you actually selling the property, how's it feel, I can do it for this price. You're putting emotions in there with the close. That's what a lot of wholesalers do. Number two here is logic, which I'm gonna show you how I do with the good cop, bad cop, and the three is fear. So like number two here is basically the logic, like, well, I know 100's too high, Rick's at 40. I mean, can we just do something logically, like, I don't know, like meet in the middle? You know, can we do what, like 70? You know, 60, 70. And that seems logical, like, okay, he's at this crazy price, you're at this, let's compromise in the middle. And even if 100 works for you, you compromise and you got a lower number doing that, and then everyone's happy, and then you close with logic right there. Now, I get asked all the time, like, Zach, how do I close with fear? And the way to close with fear is just saying, hey, I can do 60, I need a decision by the end of the day, or I'm just gonna buy another house. You put the fear, you put the scarcity in there, it's gonna work really, really well. That's why sales works pretty well. We got a holiday sale here and stuff like that. It actually works really, really well. Now, let's talk about number four here. And this is a big one. This is building rapport. Building rapport is probably one of the most important sales tactics on everything. And we have a lot of videos on the channel here on how to build rapport, but honestly, if you wanna figure out the best way to build rapport, just think of the Ford method. If I can sum up building rapport in one sentence, it would just be literally 2 words: ask questions. At the end of the day, if you want to build rapport with someone, really build that connection with somebody, the only way you can do it is by asking questions. And you really think of how relationships are built, how, have a relationship with a friend, going on a date or something, things like that, going on a sales appointment. How do you figure out what that person wants, their needs, their likes, their desires, what they don't like? What they want, stuff like even the sales process. How do you figure that out? You give them a questionnaire now, like you just talk to them and you have conversations and you ask questions. Same exact thing on your acquisitions. That's literally all you do. Like, how do you know your friend likes this or hates this? You ask questions or you had an experience together with it. Now, you can't have 4 years of being a friend with someone with a seller to know that experience, right? But you can ask the question to figure it out. Hey, do you like this? Do you like that? Blah, 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 blah. Where are you looking to move to? Things like that. That's the best way I can tell you how to build rapport. Another tip on building rapport I can tell you is think of the 80-20 approach. What is the 80-20 approach? Basically, the 80-20 approach is when you're talking to a seller, spend 80% of the time having them speak and you speak 20%. So if you look at a conversation, have 80% of the time of that conversation of them talking and 20% of you talking. And I always get asked this, like, Zach, what do I say during this 20% of, what should I say during the 20%? And you just ask questions, right? And think of the Ford method, think of, the motivation, condition, time frame, price method there. That's the best one. Now, number 5 here, this is one that is the hardest to teach. In my opinion, it's the most non-brainer for myself, the easiest for me. Definitely the hardest for a lot of beginners starting out, and this is confidence. It's very, very difficult to break down confidence to someone or share confidence. Confidence is the hardest one to teach. Confidence basically is a belief within of what you're saying when it comes to your actions and the words you speak. And it's hard to break down confidence and teach it to a point because there's only 2 ways to have confidence. Number 1 is a belief of something, and number 2 is actually experience. So if I wanted to fly a helicopter, I could have taken 100 hours of helicopter training, watching videos and learning how helicopters work online. But I go behind that, behind the helicopter and getting ready to go. I'm gonna have some confidence, but not a lot of confidence because I was lacking that second part, which was the actual action. So how do I actually build some more confidence with that? Well, I can have a helicopter person next to me that'll help teach me and show it. I can maybe do some mock helicopters, simulations, and that might help me out. But at the end of the day, if you want to build confidence talking to a seller, you just got to talk to sellers. And if you want to start doing it, you just got to go. The only way to build that confidence, the only way to be very sure of yourself is just by doing it multiple times. Like when I do a layup in basketball, I'm extremely confident I can make it because I've done it so many times. When I talk to a seller, close a seller, I'm extremely confident because I know the process. Not a lot of wholesalers are confident starting out when it comes to their cold calling, speaking to a seller, and even at the appointment because they haven't closed deals. And honestly, it's very easy to have confidence talking to a seller, in my opinion, because if you have that cash partner, a lot of the lack of confidence I see on acquisitions appointments is you don't believe that you can actually buy this property. And the truth is, maybe you can't buy this property, but if you assign it to a cash buyer, that property is getting bought, and that's your cash partner, and that should give you all the confidence in the world with it. And most people don't believe that, and you just gotta look at the process and understand that that's it, and it'll help you out so much. And this brings me back to number 6 here, which if you want to explode your real estate wholesaling business with your acquisitions and start closing more sellers, you need to use your partners as credibility. A lot of people have that lack of confidence because they don't use their cash buyer partner as credibility. And a lot of beginners, if they have that credibility out there with their cash partner that's bought maybe 4, 5, 10 deals every single month or maybe a year, you'll get a lot more confidence within you, and that's gonna help explode your business. So definitely use your cash partner as credibility. They are your cash transaction partner on that transaction. They are your partner on the deal. So you should have plenty of confidence on here doing it. And the last acquisition secret I give to you, which I have them all at freewholesaling.com. You definitely should go to freewholesaling.com and look at it. But this is don't spill your candy on the floor. And this was kind of something I've learned basically from the Sandler sales training tactics. I read a book, You Can't Learn How to Ride a Bike in a Seminar. I think that's the book. But one of the things is, I'm definitely butchering the quote, but it's don't spill the candy on the floor. And what does that mean? That's kind of a very weird saying, right? Like, don't spill your candy on the floor. Well, don't spill your candy on the floor basically states here that don't spill, like if you're giving candy out, which is information, benefits of dealing with you, stuff like that, you don't want to like give someone too much candy to a point, don't spill on the floor. What it means by this is, if you already sold the prospect, don't keep talking and try to like oversell them, because sometimes if you just keep trying to sell and sell, you're gonna lose out on the deal. And this has happened to me a couple of times starting out, and definitely one you should not be doing. So look up that method. Definitely don't be giving more information if you already sold the person. And the last bonus tip I give to you is just keep it simple. You know, you're buying a house, you and your partner, and we're looking to buy it for cash. At the end of the day, that's what you're doing. A lot of people overcomplicate the process of acquisitions and putting a property under contract, and all you're basically doing is converting someone who's interested in selling the property, meeting them or doing a phone conversation on a virtual wholesaling deal, and then putting a contract to buy it for a certain price, and you're pretty much good to go. Very simple. You're buying a property, same thing as buying a car. If you approach the acquisitions process, if you're just buying a used car, pretty much it's the same process. What do you do when you buy a car? You look at it, you know, you kick the wheels a couple times, you go in the car, right, and test drive it maybe, and then negotiate the best price possible. That's basically it. So those are my 7 big acquisition sales secrets. If you want to learn more about wholesaling real estate, the exact processes and secrets that I use to close wholesaling real estate deals, $5,000 of a free course, just go to freewholesaling.com. That's where I teach it all. So if you got any value from this video, smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Have a blessed one.